Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hash Church, Season 11, Episode 5, the Skunkman Sam Tribute. I gotta let you know I'm gonna be a mess this entire show. This is very difficult. I have such enormous amounts of grief right now and stress to make this show perfect and do right by Diana and his family, his daughters, uh, Maya. Haley, Sienna, his granddaughter, all the girls. My heart is with all of you. I'm so devastated. I'm gonna get through this. Got a lot of people waiting to get in. I got to shout out our sponsors. Just the two. Thank you so much for Heritage Seed Bank, who's with us every week here in Hash Church. He reached out 2 or 3 weeks ago and wanted to do a sponsorship. It happened to fall on this day. I thought about it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do sponsors, but I do want to shout them out, give them the props that they deserve, read a small little blurb from them, and then I'll read another little blurb from Craft Greenery, and we'll move on and invite some folks in, and we'll talk about Sam. Heritage Seed Bank, they're not just distributors, they're passionate cultivators, preservers of cannabis heritage with decades of breeding experience. They collaborate closely with top breeders to offer only the highest quality genetics. Their goal is to empower all growers with access to the world's best genetics, knowledge, and support, ensuring cannabis remains diverse, potent, and accessible. I feel like that was Skunkman Sam's mission in this life. And when I hear of younger people picking up that torch and doing that, it really brings joy to my heart. These guys pride themselves on ethics, integrity, transparency, working only with reputable breeders for ethically sourced, top standard seeds. They offer exclusive, hard to find cannabis seeds with unmatched customer service, including fair pricing and accurate information. I did reach out to Fletch from Archive to find out about these guys. He said they're good people. He sells his seeds to them. I got to give a huge shout out to Fletch. He's been absolutely amazing during all of this. He's really been super supportive with donations, with concepts and ideas of making things better. I know he's as devastated as the rest of us. So shout out to Heritage Seeds. You can support both Fletch and Heritage Seeds through heritageseedbank.com. I also want to give a shout out to Craft Greenery, Dennis and Mark over at the local dispensary here in Vancouver. They've got a premier cannabis dispensary and they've sponsored today's show as well. They were very imperative about sponsoring today's show. And their sponsorship funds will be donated 100% to Skunkman Sam's celebration of life happening here in a few days. These guys are all about bringing the highest quality and the widest variety of cannabis and extracts right to your doorsteps across Canada, whether you're a connoisseur or whether you're a connoisseur. Oh, I'm having a hard time here, guys. I'm really having a hard time here. Or a curious newcomer. Craft Greenery has something special for you. I do want to show ever so quickly their logos. There's Craft Greenery. Thank you guys, Dennis and Mark. I appreciate you. And I also want to share the logo for Heritage Seed Bank. Thank you guys as well for sponsoring today's show. It's going to be a tough one, but we're going to get through it. I had so much love for this man. The grief that has come up since his passing is very reminiscent of my father's grief of his passing 20 years ago. I know tons of people are going through this. And oh, I just want to let the world know how much I cared and loved this man. Thank him so much for everything he shared with us and will continue to share with us in the same way I learned when my father passed. That every time we talk about him, every time we bring him up, every time we tell a story, we're bringing him back. So when we say he's gone, I can't believe he's gone. He's not gone. Yes, in this form, he's not here anymore, but in spirit, I can't imagine a day where Sam isn't with all of us. So I'm going to invite some people in, and we will get started with a beautiful episode of Hash Church in honor of David Watson, aka Skunkman Sam. So here we go. Look at this incredible group of people. Oh my goodness. Thank you everyone for coming out here today. Rob, it's so good to see you, brother.
Jesus.
I'm sure
Good to be here.
Love you guys.
I can't imagine how devastated you are. You spent more time with Dave than any of us. You know, you guys,
Mm.
like Brian has said many times, two sides to the same coin. I met Rob first before I met Sam.
Hey Rob,
Met
so
Rob, must have been back in 95. Lori
here.
brought him by my house maybe a few years later, 96, I think, 97, whenever he was in BC. And soon after I would meet Skunkman Sam soon after I started the bubble bag company, and he would reach out to me aggressively with his aggressive old school nature and say, if it don't bubble, it ain't worth the trouble. You know who said that first, right? And that was the email that I got from him. And I wrote him back and I said, I absolutely know. I've only heard Rob say it. I've never met you, but he always gave credit to you when he said it. I know it's your statement. I said, I don't have to use it. I apologize for using it without, it was really an homage to you, I told him. And, for some reason, I somehow unlocked the David Watson friendship dome. And it opened up after I told him that. And it was slow, but sure. And I appreciate Rob, you being a big part of sort of getting me in there to such an amazing person. Both of you really have been influential. And I call both of you mentors of mine. And I'm happy you could make it today, Rob. I'm just a little numb today.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. It hasn't been the easiest of times for any of us, but yeah, it's good to see everybody's faces.
Nice to see you, Rob. Haven't seen you
Hey,
in a
so
while. Yeah.
yeah, it's been a long
Nice to
time.
see you.
I
Nice
want
to
to get
see
my
all of
headphones
you.
working here.
Nice
They're
to
not.
see all of you.
Blessings.
You're looking good, buddy. Rob, you're looking
Staying
good too.
alive.
You're looking really good, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm here in Laos. Laos is a very nice place, very calm,
Ah,
quiet.
mm.
Went to a raging birthday party this evening, which is good for my spirit, but yeah, it's
And
nice.
how old are you now? Oh,
I'll
oh my
turn
God.
72 this year.
Ricky, Rick DeLisi.
What's up, Soma?
Hey,
Hey,
I love you, bro. I love you.
hey, Rick.
Welcome,
what's up,
everybody. Welcome,
everybody? How
Rick.
y'all?
Welcome, Dr. Ethan, Johnny B. I see Mel Frank with Todd McCormick is in the house. Wade
Where's
Laughter,
Todd?
Soma, Dr. Mark, Colin, Aaron from DNA Genetics, Etienne, Dragonfly Earth Medicine. I really want to make today a celebration, but I feel that it's pretty okay if all of us just want to melt down and fall apart for the first little bit of this. I spoke to Todd yesterday, and I felt his grief so deeply in my soul. It's just sad. It's just one more way Sam is uniting us, and I know that grief is love. I know that grief is fairly selfish behavior. I know that I'm grieving for Diana and the girls, and I'm grieving for all of you guys, but I'm also grieving for myself. I have some selfish greed going on right now. Absolutely. Such a dear friend and great man and an absolutely unbelievable inspiration to so many people. There's over 100 people sitting in the chat room today on Hash Church, and there's 460 watching right now, the most that have watched in probably 5 years at 9:08 a.m. So I know the importance that this man had to our community, not just us, not just his family, but this far-reaching community of people. I had people today ask me if they could get photos of Sam to print and put in their grow rooms. And I just thought, what a beautiful idea. I just pictured thousands of these images of Sam all around the world in people's grow rooms and seeing people post these pictures on Instagram of Sam in the background overlooking, some of the pictures you've taken of Sam over the years, Todd. I don't doubt that those will be the pictures that will be used. And just want to thank everyone for showing up today. I want to thank everyone in the room right now. There's a very big group of people watching that had deep love for Sam. One of the people had written a couple days ago, I never met Sam, but the hearing of his passing stopped me dead in my tracks. And it just hit me so hard, you know, it's not just us. We were the lucky ones. We got to know Sam and we got to spend time with him and go on trips with him and travel with him and, you know, visit cannabis fields and smoke hash and just, you know, be around this man's absolute and utter and complete fiery passion for cannabis. And then, you know, for the lucky ones to meet his wife, Diana, and see a woman who could support this man in such an unbelievably unashamed, beautiful way. It was very inspirational. And I know when Diana first met my family, she told me, she's like, wow, you really remind me of like young, beautiful Shar with the two babies. We took a trip to Jamaica. Rob was there. He was working on one of his books that year, and it was just it was kind of the beginning of a really, really beautiful friendship. And I just really want to take this moment to thank you, Sam, for trusting me, for sharing with me, for showing me your static process when very few people on the entire planet knew it. I held that dear to my chest. I never shared it with anyone. I never showed it to anyone because the respect I have not had, the respect I have and will always have for you is it's just at the highest level. I'm not going to go on too much, but I have a very deep love for this man, as I know all of you do on the panel. And if anyone wants to pick it up from here, please do so because I'm just going to fall apart for a little while.
Well, while you do that, I'll go ahead. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ethan. Um, I met Dave in 1999 on the beach at Acapulco, same time as Rob and Dave Pate. Was introduced to him by Jeffrey Guy, the founder of GW Pharmaceuticals. This was shortly after the genetics of Hortifarm were assigned to GW. And for those of you who didn't know, that work became the foundation for what later became Sativex and Epidiolex, also the isolation of cannabinoid-free plants, CBG-only plants. It all started there. Um, so that was the beginning of an amazing friendship. And I was fortunate in the ensuing years to spend a lot of time in Amsterdam with Dave and Diana. If I can share, I'll put up a couple of pictures.
I believe I gave you permission to share.
Okay, this may not show too well, but there's Dave with one of his Chinese hemp plants. These were the largest seeds of cannabis I've ever seen, and also the most delicious. They were the size of garden peas. Let's do another one. Oh, let's try another share. And here he is with leaves of the same plant. And you'll note that clearly this is a broad leaflet plant, typical of the Chinese hemp. I've never seen bigger leaflets in my life. And then one more, I hope will be amusing. Somewhere around 2004, there was a visit to Bedrocan. And why I'm including this is the look on Dave's face. Is that the look of skepticism or what? Anyway, I'm sure he saw things with which he agreed.
Any of us who have toured Bedrocan, we all had that same look on our face.
Anyway, in the years that followed, especially, well, I was there in 2001, but also 2004 and 2005. Dave was instrumental in helping me to do a series of experiments that I'd wanted to do for years. When I first met him in 1999, along with Rob, it was apparent that these were kindred spirits because they knew about terpenoids. and the influence that they made on plants. They also knew how to selectively breed for specific cannabinoids, and that was the way forward to making cannabis-based medicine. In 2004 and 2005, in a series of long stays with Dave and Diana, we did a bunch of blinded experiments with a volcano vaporizer with Diana's help to put them together so we wouldn't know what was in them. But that's when I had the opportunity to try various cannabinoid isolates and combinations with terpenoids that form the basis of a lot of my subsequent work, particularly for taming THC. There were many times when Dave would be exasperating. He was a curmudgeon of the first order. Um, I would periodically look towards Diana, and she would say, "What can I say? I love the guy." But I just reveled in the experiences of spending time with him. Um, I mean, it's not every day you meet somebody that smoked cobra venom and lived to tell the tale. Also, to enjoy his collections, the India Hemp Drug Commission, the only set of books, the originals that I've ever seen, and his drug force patches and everything else. An amazing collector and personality of the first order, and I'll miss him greatly.
Thank you for sharing, Ethan. Really appreciate that. And definitely not wrong. He was definitely a curmudgeon of the first order. And that's what we loved about him. He had a bullshit detector that was so fucking sensitive when it came to cannabis and cannabis breeding and growing. And he had no problem. He understood that blowing smoke up people's asses wasn't how you moved them. He inspired people with truth. And it was sometimes a brutal truth. And there's people in the chat room right now. I believe it was Tony who said, you know, this is a guy who would answer my he would comment on my posts on IC Mag. He would let me know what I was doing wrong. He would decimate me. And then he would continue to send me private messages, just me, some nobody kid from middle America. And I love that about Dave, that he was willing to share his time with people. Any way that he could find access into the cannabis community. I noticed recently he started posting on LinkedIn, and he was just super like posting like so many times every day. And I was like, oh my God, this is another amazing place for people to gain access to, you know, the kind of one and only David Watson, which even I can't tell you how weird it sounds to me hearing my voice say his name on like in a setting like this. It was the weirdest thing to see pictures of him posted. I texted Diana right away. I was like, is it okay to post pictures? And she said, well, I don't think he minds anymore. I'm pretty sure I was just like, oh my God, okay. Like that's a way of thinking about it. Oh, there's a great picture of him on a plane there with in Ryan Lee's. I just loved his smile. I loved his personality. And I just had no idea when I was learning to become friends with him how much I had in common with him, how similar I was in my own personality. And just yeah, I'd love to hear anyone else's
So,
little introduction.
I mean, I don't want to jump in ahead, but it's just funny what you just said because I had the privilege of meeting him through taking part in the Hash Legends, which was in 2013, I believe. And I got to come there and just experience that whole reality that him and Mark had put together with the Hash community, which I didn't know existed before that. And I just to get back to my point, like I didn't know how much I had in common with him until I had been like hanging out at his house for like maybe like 6 months. And I went to the bathroom and saw that photo that everybody saw of him and Diane. And when I looked in his eyes, I realized like, wow, he's one of us. I'm one of them. I'm one of him. And like he loves his wife as much as I love my wife. He has a passion for cannabis. He's been through a sacrifice and just the very hard reality of like teaching people what cannabis can do for you, you know? It was a trip. So from that point, I remember coming back into his living room and being like, this is so fucking awesome that he's embraced me, you know? So I'm sorry I'm getting emotional.
Big love,
It's,
homie. Big love.
it's my moment to let it out. He was a really cool dude. I hate that anybody talks shit about him. It was he really brought me near all of you, and I'm grateful for that. Yeah. And he kept me near all of you, and as I left Amsterdam, I still kept very good contact with him. Spoke with him the day before he died, actually. And yeah, I feel tremendous love for him and his wife, and I will miss him greatly.
You were a good friend to them, dude. You were a really good friend to them. I know how much it meant to him to have you visit him in those days when, things got quiet in Amsterdam.
Yeah. He was cooler than most people even could understand. That's what it was. So you too, you guys are just like, you guys are fucking pillars in this, man.
He was 27 days older than me.
Yeah, Rob, you too, man. Like, I feel honored to have met you and smoked my ash with you, and just the whole vibe. Like, it's just fucking. I'm honored to be part of the community. That's it.
Oh, we all met a lot of us met each other at David and Diana's. So yeah.
Yeah. It's trippy, right?
Hey everyone, I just want to say good day. I'm sorry I'm not on camera today. I've been with David actually the past little while. This is Ryan. I've been traveling with David, and actually I'm now have the same sickness that he and Diana had caught before, so it's kind of caught up with me. So I'm a little bit under the weather today. But I just wanted to say it's really nice to see you all these faces on online, even Chef Seven Turtles down there in the corner. How are you, Scott?
Good.
David loved all of you guys. Um, I was with David in his last moments, and I was able to hold his hand and tell him I loved him and say all of your names as well. Just let him know that we were all with him. I've had some pretty emotional moments over the past couple of days. I raced across from Ukiah over to Auburn when I heard that he was in distress from Marcus. It was weird. We had this kind of mystical loop going on of people that had been staying in touch with David and realized that he was in distress. So I just wanted to say I love and appreciate all those people. I'm really trying to take all this pain that I have with losing David and put it into something great. So I'm gonna, if you don't mind, talk about this fundraiser that we've got going. It seems cheap to be talking about money when we're talking about our loved brother.
Yeah.
But we're trying to do a fundraiser here that's going to be to fund a moment that we can all get together and recognize David. Everybody from the community is welcome. It's going to take place at a winery in Richmond, California, which is in the Upper East Bay, and people can make donations here. We're doing food for 200. The event can hold more people. I wouldn't be surprised if more people show up. It's open to everyone that can attend on Wednesday from 12 to 6 p.m. at Riggers Loft is welcome to join us. And we'll be honoring this incredible, incredible life story of David. His family will be there. This is not a smoke your face out, blow your face off in the middle of this vineyard event. Please keep your smoking discreet outside. There will be a hash bash later at night at a different venue. But we're just going to celebrate David and talk about his life and the amazing things primarily that he meant to his family. And then those of us that became lucky enough to be part of his life and be invited into his inner circle. It's amazing, Ethan, to have you here sharing the entourage work and some of these other stuff, these other stories that we're going to tell over the next, geez, it's going to be 20 years. We'll still be telling stories of David because the things that he did in his life that we haven't talked about because of respecting his privacy are so incredible. And there is incredible as the things that we do talk about David. Um, he was just such an incredibly private man, an incredibly accomplished man. I was saying on my Instagram the other day, he found the cheat code. He figured out how to turn all the no's into yeses.
Uh-huh.
He really figured out how to do things that nobody else was able to do. And that involved things like bringing the former head of the chief of police for Holland onto his security detail team for the company. He knew how to. He figured out. He didn't know how to. He figured out how to walk these very difficult paths that allowed him to have the right to grow cannabis. And from that, he took this incredible passion that he had for cannabis. He founded the International Hemp Association. He started the work with Hortifarm. There's the seed work that he did that supported the recreational or non-medicinal side of the industry. David is truly, truly the real only Godfather legend in cannabis. We can talk about other people with their work with seeds or medicine, but David did it all. Like he did all he did the hemp side. He wanted to normalize with Rob. I mean, the work that you guys did at the International Hemp Association to normalize cannabis and provide genetic resources to people that were starting hemp programs and information to people that were starting hemp programs in every country. He had his fingers in all the pies on the cannabis side. And with Rob, they became the hub in the spoke of the wheel. They became that central hub. And like photosynthesis, like chloroplast can't photosynthesize without that central ion of magnesium. Like like the same with blood vessel or with blood cells, that central ion of hemoglobin. That's what David was to the cannabis industry. Um, and we've clearly lost so much, and it's so clear seeing my friends, these people I love on stage here today, talking about David and shedding tears. That's because of how much David would love. When you love someone that deeply, and we remove that person from the part of the equation, we feel this huge loss. But it's because he occupied such a huge place. And I've had a few deaths in my close circle in the last few years, and I've realized this time we have on the planet is so short. It's so fleeting. All we can do is really try to make the most out of every day and be happy every day. And so when I think of David, I'm really trying to be happy for all the things that he brought into my life and not focus on the sadness of losing him. Because David really did try to live his life with joy every day. And Diana recently sent me this picture that we're going to use on the pamphlet for the memorial. But it shows David. I mean, everybody knows Skunky Sam, kind of maybe Angry Sam, the one that would get up in your face when he first met you. But on the other side, there was Sweet Sam. Sam was the kindest, most loving person that you ever met. If you got into his heart, he just cared about you so much. And I see everybody on the stage, and every one of you got into his heart in some special way. Um, anyway, I feel like I'm going on and rambling. I just wanted to say it's great to be here with you guys. It was really Wade. It was so great to be with you and get to see you meet David for the first time on Thursday. Um, all of you guys, Aaron up in the corner there, all of you guys, you all played a role in David's life. And even last Friday, we went to this breeding laboratory in Davis, California. And it was, they're doing some pretty advanced stuff. They're doing high dihaploids and haploid plants and, creating very true breeding plants. And it reminded me that, like, even right up to the last days, David was doing what he wanted to do with life. He was doing what he enjoyed in life. He was with people that he loved in life. So I want everybody to try to think about living in the spirit in which David lived his life, that spirit of happiness and love, always trying to have a good time, always making sure that he was, he had the proper amount of dabs.
Always.
And just be good to each other. Love your families like late David loved his family. And if we continue to do this, we will be leading a good example for the world.
That's a good one.
So much, Ryan, for taking, the hand of aiding the. Anyway, thanks, Ryan, for being there for him and the family and everything that you've done together with him, and also just and holding space, for the family and everyone, and the work and everything. You're upholding, an important piece of this, and we appreciate you, and we give you a lot of love and energy, to continue all the stuff that needs to happen, as well as Diane and her loss after 54 years of being together with a person is a magnificent, special thing that not very many things get to do. It's not that you get to be with someone for 54 years and have a true love and be able to do your life's work, is pretty spectacular. So that's a beautiful teaching that we may not, talk about as much, but it's something that really shines through. And Marcus, I mean, you're upholding the space of bringing us together all the time, and you have a beautiful family, and you have
I just literally lost my power. My entire power went out in my house. I just had a nervous breakdown because the recording on my computer is now gone. The show kept going. I have no idea how, but I rejoined on my phone. But yeah, Dave's just playing games with me right now, messing around a bit.
Well, I'll just
Holy
All those
Moses,
damn
that gave me
pictures
a
you
heart
have up
attack.
there.
No photos.
one funny
Dude,
because we lose.
none of you will ever know the stress I just felt when my power went out. That
I was
was
wondering what was
unbelievable.
happening.
David, Marcus, David
Well,
would be
this
laughing.
is happening.
Need to be smoking some hash, right? Grab their
I
bong,
am smoking hash.
smoking some hash.
So Marcus, you still have your power. You lost electricity. That's the one.
No, I have no. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I have the power in my heart, and I have no electricity. Thank you, Josh. Well played. Thank you.
Marcus, take a dab, relax. Thank you for putting this together. We understand your stress. I just want to quickly just say my humble thanks. It's just amazing to see all of you here. I have a science support group I've had for the last year, and when David heard about it, he's like, "Why am I not there? And when do I get there?" And that's just the kind of guy he was. Always willfully able to share if he felt you were on the right track. He was pointing you in the direction. And the young scientists I work with are, dealing with the frustrations and the reality of coming into the world of cannabis. And he was always willing to tell them the truth, not mince words, give them the reality that they needed to expect, and continues to set them up for success. So he did it all the way to the end. Unfortunately, wasn't able to join our last one. He's like, I slept in. I was like, don't worry, you rest. We got this. And yeah, you all now carry a piece of his torch. So carry it proudly, carry it high, and with honor.
Hey everybody, I just want to say hi. I'm sitting here with Mel Frank. Probably aside from Rob, Jim's known David longer than all of us.
1977.
Oh, so Rob beat you by a little bit.
Yeah.
Rob, love you.
Very little.
Just a little. Jim, where'd
I
you
met
meet?
Jim with David, so yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I met Rob and Dave. I think it was early in 77.
Yeah.
Not sure. But
Was
one
that in LA?
in Oakland.
In Oakland.
Yeah. And Dave bombarded me with all these questions and I never finished an answer. That's what I remember. I guess how I started to answer wasn't sufficient for him or whatever. We go on to another question. But then he came back and brought me something maybe a few weeks later. And that was a book that he got from the National Archives with samples of hemp in it, right? Hemp cloth, hemp rope, etc. And I happen to have a couple of these. We put this up? Yeah. Like this is one, and here's another one. But anyway, it was great for me getting a little more education about hemp. And I was able to put that in the Deluxe Growers Guide. Right. And we saw each other occasionally. And in 1988, he came to Los Angeles, I guess, to recruit me to come to Amsterdam. Unfortunately, for doing that, I had just gotten married. I had just moved into a loft in LA, just starting publishing company Red Eye Press, and just finishing the Insider's Guide. So there was no way I could do that. And otherwise, I would have been in Amsterdam with the rest of you guys.
Sure enough.
Yeah, so that was pretty. And I would see him off and on when he came here, which wasn't that often. But anyway, but he was really an incredible person in terms of he'd get an idea in his head and he could just follow it through and somehow make it happen. You know, I was always surprised at what name he would use the next time I saw him. You know, one time it was Jingles, next time it was Selmagage, which I had to be told that was Jingles backwards. You know, that's what.
Silent Nidge.
Right. So, you know, and I wouldn't say he was paranoid because you're not paranoid when the threats are real. You know, and he always felt under threat. So
He was a good dad. He had his wife and his daughters, and
right, made sure they were okay. Right.
he was dad bear.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised when he moved to Amsterdam, but he made the right choice, obviously. Right.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't like prison.
Yeah. Right.
Me neither.
I'm sure he wouldn't have either.
Right.
No, a lot of people I think don't recognize his true genius. I mean, as somebody
Yeah.
who followed the movement of Marinol through regulation and expected to be able to make a
Right.
generic THC and started the first private pharmaceutical company directed for cannabis research,
Right.
aside from a government-funded one like Israel or America. And Rob, you guys were making history on a level that few could comprehend. And
Yeah.
it bothers me, the people that kind of came along and didn't understand the work they were doing and would throw shade at them because they were light years. Rob, you guys were light years ahead of all of
Right.
us. And I thank you for teaching me about cannabinoids and terpenes and just the diversity of cannabis and hashish and gland size and everything you guys taught us from, you know, the International Hemp Association and literally teaching teachers all about cannabis with, you know, journals printed on hemp and then peer reviewed and then sent to the educators of the world who didn't know what they didn't know. And that was you and that was David. And
Yeah.
I absolutely admired those little hemp educational kits we used to get from the IHA, and the work you guys did to me is underappreciated and misunderstood by many people, and I love you guys for it. You guys, what you did to me is legendary, and I thank you forever, and you'll always be my heroes. I mean, on every level. Rob, you, David,
Yeah.
thank you. And I spoke to Dave Pate last night, Rob, for a while.
Oh yeah.
He's in
You said
Africa.
you'd spoken to.
Yeah, we were on the phone for quite a while. He sends his love to you and Diana and everybody, and he was devastated with the news as well.
Yeah.
Tough times for all of us.
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. I feel like our friend was stolen from us.
You know, I'm grateful to be on this with you guys today. Under these crazy circumstances, I've known Dave for about 20 years, since Dawn and I left Amsterdam. Left California to follow our dreams and moved to Amsterdam, and maybe show some people, us Cali boys can do something. We always, we always try to make the older people that we knew, the Somas, the Dave Watson, the Rob Clark, everybody who came, Mike Richards, all of you guys, like,
Mike Richards.
we try to impress you guys because we were the young guys,
And all.
We were the young guys in town, and and being able to hang out with Rob and Dave and and talk shit, and Dave is a unique character. You love the guy, but he could be an asshole sometimes too. And I'm not afraid to say it, because he could, in one sentence he could be holding your kid in your house, and next second he's saying some shit. And like, I'm grateful to have spent the time that I got to spend with him. I'm grateful to have been able to bring some dry sift hash over to his house that he couldn't clean up. We were always amazed about how he would go into his little room, come back out licking his fingers, and have these 3 piles of hash out of the dry sift you brought to him. You'd have your trash pile, you'd have your pile that could probably be cleaned up, it's mostly trash, and then you have your A pile. And it was always Don and I's goal to just come and bring something that he couldn't do and impress him to the point where he had to say something fucking nice, something really nice, and you're like, that's great work. And like, the last seed crop Dave did was with our genetics. We did a little project together.
This is true. This is all very true story. I have a big pile of skunk cross slee stack in my possession.
Yeah,
that shit was special. That shit is special.
David was telling us just the other day, Aaron, about how he loved the characteristic that he loved about that plant is that you could keep hitting it, and it would just get him higher and higher and higher.
That was like the top of the pyramid for Don and I. To impress the guy that is so hard to impress, and to want to work with you and work with the genetics that you created. I mean, it hits my heart right now, but like that, it's like winning a fucking gold medal or winning first place at a tournament. Cannabis cups are cool, but fucking impressing someone like Dave, who's moved the goalpost and is a pioneer. I'm not trying to leave you out, Rob, because like everything that I'm saying now goes to you as well. Like, y'all inspired us, and to be able to do stuff with y'all, I mean,
you're here.
Fuck, dude, like
it's here.
It's everything, and to be friends with you guys still, like, again, I feel like I'm still the youngster in the situation. I just turned 50. I'm about to turn 51. Yeah, it's an interesting time to deal with this shit. Like, I'll be honest, like, I've been dealing with death from a young age, and it sucks, and people around me dying, and this year is no different. I've lost other good friends. It turns you into the man that you are, and I try to wake up smiling every day and hug my kids every day and just pass the knowledge that I've learned. Although I'm not smoking in front of my kids, like, they know about weed, and I don't know. I don't want to ramble on. Like, look, I love you guys. I'm glad I got to learn. I'm glad I got to, try true tests with terpenes and stuff like that with Dave. Feels weird saying, like Mark said, it feels weird saying his name, because of all his aliases. Me and that guy grew up in the same town. We're both from Hollywood. Yeah, look, I can't. It's tough. We lost a pioneer. I would say I like to use primary colors in cannabis, and like Dave was the primary color in the cannabis industry. He connected every single seed company that we have in this fucking world in one way or another. They don't even know it. Some of these guys don't even know Dave bred skunk. Like these are he's a pioneer. Like his work will live forever, and that's one thing that is the coolest part is his work will live forever, and everybody that grows a cannabis plant has a little bit of Dave in their growing. And I'll just leave it at that. I'm glad I got to shed some tears with you guys.
Thanks for reaching out last night too, Aaron. I appreciate it.
I look forward to seeing you guys. It's been a minute. I don't know if I'll make it to Richmond. My wife's in Miami with my daughter. She just had a gymnastics competition, and I'm home with my son, who's he's got his baseball and basketball and flag football shit.
You got a life to live, dude. Listen,
No,
everybody.
I know, but you pay your respects, and for someone that's been held my daughter when she was just a baby with Diana at my house, and we were all friends. We might not see each other every day, but we're all friends, and I'm gonna pay my respects. I don't mind driving the 6 hours. That's nothing to me. I'll drive 6 hours and 6 hours back home for a friend.
Well, if you can be here, that's lovely. There's something that you just said about a little piece of David being in his grow room, and this is not going out to this. What I'm saying here is not going out to everybody, Joe Public, but David's wishes are that all of his friends get some of his ashes and they incorporate them in with their next crop soil. And David wants to end up in your cannabis and then end up in you and end up in the seeds that we share around the world. So everyone on this panel, you guys are all very close friends of David. If you would like some of his ashes, Fletcher from Archive Seeds has just been incredible in this whole thing. I want everyone to know. He's provided the anchor funding so we can do this memorial, but he's also sourced these incredible hand-blown glass vials that everyone will be have to be shared with some of David's ashes. So if you're willing to take on that responsibility, please get in touch with me or Todd or Marcus, and we'll make sure that happens. David's entire life was around cannabis, and he wants it to continue to be within cannabis. So we're gonna make that wish of his come true.
That's awesome.
No, I met David on the forums the first time, and as a 14-year-old kid, I read Mel's book front to back, back to front. It was maybe the first book I ever read straight through, to be real. And I read it probably 100 times over, and it felt like a movie almost from reading that book to going to the forums to getting a message from Jingles to not knowing who Jingles was. To getting all this knowledge and, hey, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, read this, read that, sending me information, not knowing who any of these individuals were, meeting Marcus on the forums, not knowing who Bubble Man was. I was lemon cake on the forums as a young teenager, like a lot of us at the time. And then I read Rob's book, and the knowledge just snowballed and snowballed. And then I was lucky enough to be introduced through Marcus, and spend every Sunday that I possibly could here on this show with him. And he was our audience. I thought about this the other day. He was the guy, like Rob. You are our audience. You are our audience. Mel, even Marcus, you're our audience, man. I every time I made something, dude, you got a text message. Bro, check this out. Dude, check how crazy this is. I can't believe it. you know, and it's this constant search that fueled the curiosity, and you all were the catalyst for that, you know, and what sparked me as a young person to grow into an older self through the lens of your work. And that gave me the courage that I needed to do the work I do today. You know, I think about the time, Rob, you and Mojave came to my lab in California, and I can't even tell you, it just was so special to me at the time that I couldn't even put it into words, to be sitting there sharing my work with you live, you know, and that those moments make everything worth it. All the risk that I took in Brooklyn, New York, growing, you know, commercial crops like a young, basically an idiot if I call myself that. But because I believe so much in your work and the things that I wanted to follow to become just like you know, and all of you, even, I mean, Adam, dude, Adam Dunn, you know, like your work too. Aaron, DNA, your work too. I've had a lot of loss in the past 3 months. I lost my father in December. I lost my cat of 20 years, and now we've lost our audience in our one of our best friends. And I think that for me, it's selfishly, it's this inspiration that you have all given us and Sam has given us to tell me to go breed, go learn, go test yourself. That's the kind of stuff that I'm forever grateful for. I mean, I'm just forever grateful. You know, I would not be doing what I do today without all of you. No way. Not even a chance.
That's an actual fact on my end too. You guys,
So
the
so
people-
those that are listening, I stand on the shoulders of giants, and
Yeah.
you are all those giants. And I thank you deeply. I look at Sam like deeper than a breeder. He's like a philosopher that it's like a Rubik's cube that he was controlling and constantly learning from and creating new combination codes for. And I don't know. It's like the color wheel that you spoke about, Aaron. Sam helped us have that color wheel. So did you, Rob. You know, you gave us that wheel, you know, and Mel, and all the work that Aaron, you're doing now and continuing to do with your work and with DNA. We're all fortunate, you know, and I'm just so thankful. I really am.
Dave was like the ancient encyclopedia that sat on the shelf that all the knowledge came from at one point, and people would just open up the encyclopedia. But that was like his cannabis genetics. You know, besides his smart, like the genetics are in everything. Like so many, the weed I'm smoking now has somehow come from Dave in one sense or, you know,
100%.
No,
the hash that's in here is, you know, partially responsible for something Dave created, you know, like
everything around us.
everything or like all this cannabis, you know, like, you know, the seed movement, like just think about it. Like Dave comes to Amsterdam, he brings varieties, he creates strains, he works with Spencer, he works with Neville, he works with everything after that.
Yeah.
Everything after that, you know, is still probably because of something of his, you know, and like it's fucking cool. It's cool to see, like it's cool to see my work in other people's work, but like a lot of my work probably wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for someone like Dave, you know.
100. Yeah.
And
I
like
think you're 100% right. And the thing that I think I hear you saying out of all this is that without that foundational work, I don't know where we'd be. I don't know.
I mean, you'd be playing with other primary colors, you know, landrace varieties, and into what though? It would be landrace to landrace, right? And then you know you have a new strain, but like it's not skunk that's, you know, touched every part of the world. Let me tell you, I've gotten so much shit for selling millions of seeds to bulk customers around the world, right? And then people see these pictures out in the world and they're like, oh, you're the reason why landrace varieties are dead in that part of the world. Da, da, da. And I'm like, you guys are like 30 years late on this thing. That's not my fault. Talk to
It's
the guy
David's
that
fault.
talk to the guy that bred skunk. All Africa skunk, Morocco skunk, Iran skunk. I mean, all these places that they grow massive fields, Mexico, South America, all skunk, dude. Like, it wasn't me. I'm just trying to give them more females in their crops. But like, skunk was introduced, and I'm not saying it ruined the crops because they go back. Morocco goes back to what it is. They're still selling the same hash. The hash you can put in the greatest strain in Morocco, and it's still going to taste like Morocco soil.
It's a drop of water in the ocean. It's a drop of water in the ocean. People get all up all emotional on themselves about this stuff, but you know as well as I do, Aaron, it's a drop in the ocean.
I think something that's incredible is just one thing is just that there's an entire generation, millions of people around the world that these guys' work has made our lives possible. Financially, it created the business, the market, a lot of the morals that whether it's seeds or products. I mean, the first two books I ever got was Marijuana, Botany, and Hashish in terms of, I was 16 and I was ready to grow. If you get those two books, you're pretty much ready to go. And it's pretty incredible the amount of people that this has positively influenced and provided, at least in my case, my entire life. This is all I've ever done as an adult. And I have everything to thank to these men. The house I'm in, it doesn't matter what it is. And I think it's pretty incredible to be able to enact that much change and benefit around the world to so many people.
You're a real one, Fletch.
The realist.
You're a real one, brother.
100%, Fletch. We love you, man.
I love you guys too. Thanks.
Fletch, I gotta say too, I'm gonna say it publicly. Thank you so much for stepping up and helping with this fundraising. You've been just absolutely incredible and a rock. And I just wanted to say publicly, how much I appreciate you, brother. Love you. And Hill, it's so great to see you here as well. Love you all. Thank you all for coming to celebrate David.
Did you say Hill?
I just listen. I just looked
Yes,
through the
Hillary's
chat.
here.
I just looked through the chat, and I scrolled up, and the one thing that I saw was just hearts after hearts after hearts. David loved being part of this church. It was really something that he looked forward to on Sundays. Diana was telling me that even just last week, the day before, he was so much looking forward to it. And I think because he got into distress, he wasn't able to make it. But it was something that he looked forward to every week. And, not only the panelists, but everyone in the audience too. Like he enjoyed being here and sharing with you all. So I just wanted to say thank you for, helping give him a place to be and share his vast knowledge and love of cannabis.
I just want to say hi to Hillary. It's good to see you here, Hillary. It's amazing. I think 29 years ago, we were hanging out with Rob and David.
I mean, my connection to Rob and David and Old Ed and Michael Rich all came through Todd. And I started writing letters to Todd when he was in jail, and we became very fond of each other. And he convinced me to move to Amsterdam in the mid-90s. And Mark, you drove me to the airport to drop me off for yet another grand adventure. And I moved to Amsterdam to be with my then love of my life, who I had never met in person. And Todd and I met in the airport. This is like before email, I think. And it was a grand, grand adventure. And Todd had this amazing connection of this community of incredible men. And we would hang out in positronics and drink tea and smoke
Mhm.
beautiful things and
Mhm.
get lessons from the greats. And we were there for almost a year before we moved to California. And I'm not a grower, but what that group of men taught me, the way that I stand on their shoulders in terms of them being legends in my life, is they taught me about the courage and the commitment and the resilience that it takes to create places where prohibition doesn't exist. And you start with a room, an organization, a place, a city, and it grows from there. And from the inspiration and the learning about the plant. I mean, when I came back to Canada in, in the 90s, nobody was talking about, there being a variety of cannabinoids in the cannabis plant that have different therapeutic effects. Like this was like not the conversation that was happening around medical cannabis. And yeah, like they lit a torch for me that I brought back to Canada and kept carrying that work and carrying that space and continuing to make places where basically prohibition didn't exist. And I met another man that was a part of that community of people, Marty, who also is no longer with us, who ended up being one of the most important producers and providers and teachers and generous and very talented grower that supplied my Compassion Club for years and years and years. And I know that he told me stories about David taking some of his best genetics and giving them for free to Chaling from Bedrocan back in the day because he was starting to work supplying people that were living with HIV and AIDS through the pharmacies in Holland.
Is this Blackfoot?
Yeah, Black Paw. Black Paw. Yeah.
Wow.
And when I heard about David passing, the first thing I thought was I imagine that Black Paw is probably on the other side, ready to greet him.
Yeah.
And I Dave was always very kind and really nice. I mean, people were sometimes kind of intimidated by him. He was kind of a legend. Well, kind of a legend, very much a legend, and could have a sharp wit and a cutting tongue. But over the years, he was always very kind and very, very supportive and just kept kind of giving me like attaboy girl, like wait, you just kind of like keep at it. And he was always just um one of the really like just forces that kept my chin up when things were really, really, really hard trying to create space for medical cannabis in Canada. So yeah, old Ed and I think Michael Rich
Wow.
is gone now too, I believe.
Wow.
And Marty, I hope that they're all, hanging out on the other side, enjoying the bounties of their beautiful work while they're in the spirit world. So, Todd, I'm really glad that you wrote me back when I started writing you letters in jail and that we made that connection and you made me move to Amsterdam because that was a pivotal fork in my life, connecting with that community of people. And yeah, totally changed my life and created my work as well, but in a very different way than being a grower.
Well, thank you. And I love you. And I've always been impressed with all you've accomplished in all the years I've known you, Hillary. So I think we
Me
all
too.
owe
Me
you a
too.
deep debt of gratitude in Canada. You helped go change things. And the Compassion Club made a huge difference. And I love you for the work you've done. I love you for the person you are.
Thank you, Hillary. We love you too. And you really helped pave the way in British Columbia and in the world in that way through not just you, but the whole group and everyone involved here. And we really appreciate it.
Hillary, love. I love you.
Love you, Hill. We all love you, Hill.
Well,
Deeply
So much
and
respect for that, Hill.
dearly.
We love you, man.
Words, your energy, your vibration, everybody here is just reminding me of the very best that cannabis ever could say or do or be, or who she is in the world. All of you all represent such an incredible voice. You put a dress on her, you show her out in the world, and the words and the language with the books and the stories and the strains. You have elevated this plant, which has elevated the entire world. Dave was part of, as so many of you are a part of, elevating the entire world, the work that you've been doing, Ethan Russo. Every single person here on this panel, every time that someone takes a smoke, every person here is a part of that elevation, of that person, of that family, of that community, of that world. My gratitude is so beyond words. To Dave, to Diane for allowing him to do all that he did. For sure, Diane, all the love to you, girl, for allowing him and being his sidekick.
Yeah.
Because
we love
you have allowed the elevation of this plant beyond our wildest dreams. My gratitude is deep. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Skunk.
I'm really glad you mentioned that because I've always seen Diana and David as a team that was inseparable. It was Diana's handwriting on the Cultivator's Choice catalog. She was there from the very beginning when they started collecting seeds, when they took the hippie trail. She was always just part of everything he did. And while David got a lot of credit for all of his brilliant work, which he well deserved, I don't believe that we would know David the way we do if it wasn't for Diana in his life. I love them both very much. And Rob, thank you. You were my, if it wasn't for my relationship with Robert, I wouldn't know David. And thank you very, very much, Robert. It was one of the sweetest gifts you've ever given me.
Well, it's my pleasure. Absolutely.
That's
I'm gonna
awesome.
sign off pretty soon, guys. I'm not good at and ladies, I'm not too good at doing chat and saying goodbye. So I'm just gonna say goodbye and go to bed. Been
Much
a little
love,
short
Rob.
tonight, but it's really nice to hear everything everybody's had to say. Makes me feel really good. So
Love you, Rob.
Love you,
I
Rob.
love you,
Love you,
Rob.
Rob.
Love you, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Right loud.
Good to see you,
Love
Rob.
you, Rob.
Good to see your
Love you,
face,
Rob.
Rob.
Soon.
Have a great night.
Love Rob.
I wanted to, first of all, I wanted to let you all know that I'm having like 95 nervous breakdowns because I'm now on a phone plugged into a battery pack and it keeps like disconnecting every 3 minutes. And I only heard like every second word that Hillary said. And hello, Hillary, and thank you for showing up. And it's fucking snowing and there's a snowstorm behind me. And I have no power in my entire house. But my boy is sledding out back. And my other boy, who's like 250 pounds, is shoveling the snow. So this is the reality that I'm existing in right now. It's a little bit off. It has been beautiful to hear everyone's words. It was awesome to hear your words, Hillary. I'm so glad you showed up and shared about Black Paw and the connection to those guys. And yeah, I've made Etienne the co-host, so he's going to be taking care of things the best possible. I'll just be over here having a nervous breakdown and feeling sick to my stomach every time it goes out, that it's still going live on YouTube and that we're still recording everything. So this is the reality I'm existing
Don't
in. I
worry.
wanted to thank
Hey, Mark, can I say something?
Adam Dunn for
Hey, Mark.
also yeah, of course, please.
It just proves
Yeah.
that David's alive in the afterlife, fucking with us and having a
Oh
laugh.
my God, dude.
That's
It's
what
just
this really
no,
proves.
listen, it's even crazier, Todd. Do you want me to prove that that is the case? This
feel it's
fucking guy
true.
right here, this fucking maniac right here, just drove from Chilliwack through a snowstorm to bring me six-star bubble hash, 6 different varieties of 6-star bubble hash John Hatch on Instagram, champion of champions. I'm like, so David's fucking with me. He's knocked out the power. My whole
He's telling
computer
you to
system's
dab.
not working anymore.
Telling you to dab.
But he's had 6-star hash delivered. He's got
Yeah,
6-star hash being delivered. So
he wants you to focus
there's
on what's
proof.
important. He
John
wants you to
woke up, Mark.
Yeah.
That
wanna see
very
some clouds.
that very well could
Yeah, but
be 7-star hash.
Colin.
Fire.
Jeremy Plum, welcome. How are you doing today, sir? Joining us from Columbia. I'm so glad that you ported in.
I am so grateful to be a part of this moment, to see all of the amazing eldership and care and love represented on this call. And the reality I exist in right now is a bit chaotic. It's, I'm in Colombia. There's technology issues and a variety of things. I'm very grateful that there's a signal now. There's a little bit of a fight to get to this outcome, but I just really want to share from the bottom of my heart gratitude to you, Ryan Lee, and Rob before he left for the opportunity to have a bridge to David. And that I know without your love and brotherhood and eldership, there simply wouldn't have been those unbelievably profound exchanges that in a limited period of time, of course, above and beyond Marcus's hosting of David here, there was, I think, some key and pivotal exchange that happened that I am just obviously deeply and truly grateful for, in love with. I feel just obviously a bit overwhelmed at the notion that sometimes when somebody holds so much knowledge and wisdom, even in this vast community, facets of it could be gone, could not be expressed, could be lost. And it's my great hope that through the course of today and any other opportunities that we have to connect or exchange, that we don't lose any of the wisdom and love and care, the insights about the plant, the things that help to continue to usher forward something that is a truly meaningful expression of what we love. And I think David is just such a mind-blowing storehouse of experience. And I know I can feel that in a sense now. There's that anxiety about what could possibly go with him, and the huge gratitude to everybody here carrying the beautiful torch that you do. And in any case, a huge privilege to be here today. So much love for everybody present, and looking forward to hearing a lot more and sharing moments. One last quick thing. I know that one of my first interactions with David that was truly meaningful was when he was kicking my ass for being involved with the Open Cannabis Project, which at the time was sincerely a very earnest expression for me in an attempt to try to defend and buttress against corporatism in my community. And in an instant, he like saw right through this multifaceted web of relations at a level that I could not, and gave me the gift of a liberating perspective through like what is the equivalent of a chiropractic adjustment, like a quick, sharp snapping with a loud crack where you start to wonder if a vein could get severed and you could have some kind of greater consequence, but in fact, you're actually just aligned instantly. That was one of the, I think, first moments I came to understand the magnitude and gravitas that David carries. It wasn't without pain. It was certainly connected to a bigger picture. In any case, grateful to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing, Jeremy. So eloquently put. I'm also suffering to the whims of technology. I'm in a snowstorm right now, and my power has gone out. So I'm running this church on my phone right now. So I felt your that energy of like, please just get a signal, please stop cutting out, please stop. So very, very beautifully and elegantly put. Appreciate you for sure. I wanted to maybe welcome Adam Dunn. I did his show the other day. I always felt that Adam and Doug were kind of two of the first in the early days to sort of break the dome of Rob and Dave and kind of get in with those guys and spend time with them and really start sort of slowly extracting all of that incredible knowledge. So Adam, welcome, brother. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks. I wanted to thank you also for putting this together. yeah, during the show it was great because we both scratched each other's sort of memory banks there, and like I was lucky enough to have sort of the safe space in Amsterdam that anybody who really was into growing or into cannabis was hanging out at the time. And Rob actually coined the phrase the epicenter of the cannabis universe for the CIA, because every day was somebody walking through the door who was, now pivotal in the industry, or even at the time pivotal in the industry, whether it was Stevie D coming through with his crew or somebody else coming through. Amsterdam was like that, living in a funnel at the time. And this is in 90, but I would like to say which was my initial meeting with Dave was classic. It was like everybody's probably along the way was, I was working at Sensi, and it was in 91. And at that time I was just working by myself at the shop because Alan trusted me, and I was just kind of like running the store by myself. I was sort of a manager at the time, let's say. And Dave came into the shop and he was like livid, right? He came in and he was pissed the fuck off. Like he walked in and started telling me about how my boss, which was Ben Dronkers, everything that he had was because of him. The skunk was his, the haze. He went down the list. He did like a laundry list for me where I was just like, I was sitting there. I was like 20 years old at the time, 21. So I was just like, who the fuck is this guy, right? And then, and so he was like, he made me like almost scared at the time, right? So I called fucking Alan, and I'm like, Alan, there's this guy, and he's like ready to tear the shop up. I think he's so mad, and he goes, who? And I go, I don't know. He's Skunkman or something like that. And he goes, oh, that's Dave. I goes, because of course Sensi at the time too, you got to imagine they were so jealous of Sam because Sam actually had, tapped the fucking, he has figured it out. He figured out the actual formula, how to work with this plant legally. And so they basically were on, camp that Dave's a narc type thing. So that first thing I got was, this guy's a narc. You don't want to talk to him, right? So I was like, okay, that's what I guess I have to do. And so for a while, I was totally nervous about Dave. But then Rob became the good cop, bad cop situation where I became friends with Rob. And then Rob told me, oh, dude, his bark it's all bark. He like, don't you worry. And then what was interesting on the show the other day, I had Mojave there, and Mo kind of reminded me of how Mo really broke Dave for me because he smoked him out with some sage, and Dave couldn't deny that he hadn't smoked weed in like years. And he basically took a hit because he felt kind of obligated to take a hit off of a joint. And he really was like, wow, dude, that's like, where'd you get, like, it just sparked something. And so he got respect from Mo, and then from me overall in that way. It was just kind of like, it was a classic way of learning how he really is, where if he likes you, he's going to even be more on your ass. You know what I mean? Because that was what I noticed. And I always I felt really in a weird privileged way because I had Rob to bounce all my ideas off of. And the day that I made, actually, it was funny because the day that I made my first sort of laminated piece of hash, when I pulled out the laminator, and I got one here. But when I pulled out when I was sitting at my shop and I had my little laminating machine, and I was looking down at it, and I put some hash into some cellophane, ran it through, and I was like, holy shit, I think I got something here, right? And I showed that to Rob, and then Rob showed that to Dave, and they both were like super impressed that something that they had never seen before had, finally was in front of them, and it was like, so that was my little proud moment with those guys. But overall, it was just great to have them, access to them, and any, like, and when we did events, it was also really fun because I did my barbecue every year. I had my birthday barbecue in the middle of June, and Rob and Dave would bring, he'd bring his hash balls that he would make, his
fuck those things, bro. That thing ruined me at your party, bro.
Every year, everybody would get a little bit greedy, or like if you took two, you were done, dude, because they were like 250 or 500 milligrams. Who knows how much was in there? It was a lot.
I asked them, 1 gram of dry sift hash oil went into each fucking ball because I thought I was gonna die.
they'd burn your throat as you ate them. You'd be like, oh my God, what's going on here? What is going on? It was like peppery as hell. But
Dog spit his out.
He would wipe
They
everybody out.
they
Like
lasted for a long time.
yeah, people would call me for the next 2 or 3 days, like, dude, why didn't you tell me? Like, oh, dude, I'm sorry. It's not my problem. At the barbecue, I kind of lose control, But yeah, he would look forward to that every year, and then he did it also on Queen's Day. And my mom one time was hanging out with Rob and Dave, and she doesn't like edibles anyway, so I don't know why she even did it, but she ended up on a tram and she couldn't get off the tram. She like had her head against the window, and she called later on. She told me, she said, I just kept going on the tram on and on, and I just couldn't get off. I see the stop, and I'd be like, tell your body to move, but it wouldn't move. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he liked to do what we all like to do, which is get our friends really, really high. You know what I mean? Like that was
really high.
Awesome. And right now, like I'm sitting here, I got my matches, I got my film canister full of hash. I even got glasses on now, so now that I can pull it down to the end of my nose as I pack it, and I feel like I'm channeling him a bit. You know what I mean? So it's pretty awesome.
Can I say, Adam, and just because you know, I believed a lot of the absolute bullshit that I heard from Alan and Ben and others in regards to them, and I'm really grateful that you brought it up because unfortunately, everybody knows I carry haze and skunk and other genetics I got from David. We were very close, and it bothers me to my soul how many people spread the lies that Neville told about David being DEA when it wasn't true, and then Ben Dronkers and Alan Dronkers and so many others jumped on board and talked mega shit because they didn't understand what he was doing. They had no concept what he was doing with medical cannabis or the research he was doing or the money he was raising or how he was growing legally. And because they didn't understand him, they threw nothing but shade at him. They lied about him. They dragged his name through the fucking gutter. And it was just nothing but a character assassination attempt. And he did not deserve it at all. He was not a narc. He was not DEA. He was none of those fucking things that they accused him of. And I despise them for saying it.
Well, it sucks because other people latched onto it too, and then they became their whole thing. And you're like, Jesus Christ, is this? You have no idea what you're talking about.
And I will say right here,
Adam, you said it on your.
It's not true. It wasn't true. It wasn't true at all. And when we found the affidavit for Neville, we found out it was his own employee, Raymond Anthony Kogo, who turned him in, and along with Neville, turned in 11,000 people.
Let's focus on David.
Todd, David told me the day before he died, 18, that I basically saved him finding the affidavit because it was only until the affidavit was found that a lot of these lies that Adam brought up, finally people understood it wasn't David. David was not guilty. David was not the bad guy. He was the hero in the modern cannabis story, and people should really understand that. And that's why we all love him, because of the work he did going back to the 70s, collecting genetics, sharing information, sharing breeding information, starting the Horta Farm, starting the HAA. All of it was what we owe this guy for. And most of it goes unknown because people spread horrible rumors. So I'm glad Adam.
Well, listen, I want to tell a story.
You're on, Jim. Go ahead, Jim.
I want to tell
here since the beginning, and Dave has done more for the cannabis world than anybody dead or alive, and that's the truth.
Yeah, it's definitely like a fact because when you look at every image of what's going on in the marketing of cannabis nowadays, he had these books with so much awesome art. He was so into the art side of marketing cannabis also in such a cool way. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah,
we can hear you, brother.
Yeah, it's just a trip when I think back about it. When he pulled out, when we get like really high and be chilling, he'd pull out his collection of like art. And it was like, that's actually what fueled the whole industry of what we're watching now. He got it then. Like he understood like how to present it to people and how flavors were connected to like looks of things, which is just wild to see now. And most people don't even connect that part of it, but I see it all. It's a trip. It's like everybody who's spoken today has spoke something that he did in my heart also. So really awesome to hear everybody say, from Aaron, everybody who said their most impactful things matched in some way with what I encountered with him. So it's really awesome.
I think, Rick, one thing I just want to get in here real quick, and then Ryan, I'd love to hear your thoughts. The image behind me, look, I saw this image in your books. I'm mimicking you. I'm looking at your work the same way that I looked at Sam's work and Rob's work, and I think others follow in suit. And you gave us that hall pass. From a subject matter point of view, I've been shooting photos. I have photos in 35 millimeter books right here of all of my work as a young kid. Like, let me see if I can put this in front of me.
Green screen.
Green screen's killing you,
Let me
dog.
turn it off. This is important. I want to just share this because it's so important to me. To share this. I have books from 95 or 96 all the way to now of 35 millimeter.